Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Barn Talk. I'm Glenn Kennedy. This is my co-host Charles Motz,
And we
and
here.
and today we'd like to answer some questions that were given to us on Facebook. So there was two questions, Charles. One was about the water runoff and does it come from the mountains or does it come from the people farming? And the other one was about the reservoir that sits on Grand behind the old Magic Chef where I think it's Misky sits.
Yes.
So I'll go first. So I know about the reservoir. The reservoir was actually an original settlement for the Gabriano Tonga Indians,
hmm
and because it sat above and it was perfect for fishing. But I know they had a few settlements. I know that was one. And why don't you tell us about the water runoff and what the farmers did?
Well, the runoff basically came from the mountains and down the wash in the winters, and it was pretty severe. And what the farmers did, and I think the best way to explain it is take a football field and put dirt all the way around, like a dam, a small dam about a foot high, and then break it up into five sections. And the first section had three valves, and you just turned them on, and it would run down to the second one. And when it got about an inch and a half high in water at the end, they had about five pipes buried in the little dam they had, and it would flow into the next reservoir. And by the time it got to the end, it was almost time to get up in the morning and shut that section off and start up another section. But there was very little runoff from the farms because water was so precious here that the farmers protected their water and they were happy to get it, especially in the summer. And of course, after the picking of the crops, the walnuts basically, they would disc a little bit, work the soil, and plant mustard grass seed. And of course, then the rains would come. But the mustard grass, as we see on the hills, is 6, 7 inches. Some of it's a foot high. So the water really didn't flood off the land. And as they always said, Glenn, liquor's for drinking and water's for fighting over. And I think
I heard that.
yeah, and I think that's the way it was. No, they protected their water. The floods came from the mountains, and so they started building the dams and improving the washes. And as you were talking earlier, that was Mr. Hearst's number one thing was get these wash built.
Yes.
You had to.
So when it flooded out, you're up to water. You're up to your waist in water in the wintertime, and then the summer there was no water.
You weren't drinking.
So you had one extreme to the other, correct?
Yeah, you weren't drinking much liquor. You were fighting over your water.
There you go.
Yeah, and boy, if you didn't have water, you were in trouble. There was vacant land in West Covina that didn't have water rights. I mean, you
Yes,
had.
you had mentioned that. Tell us about that, Charles.
Yes, there were sections on Cameron going over towards Baldwin Park. There was land that didn't have water rights, or they didn't get along with Metropolitan Water Company, one or the other. And boy, it was just vacant basically. And you could maybe get a little water and raise some black-eyed peas or some winter wheat, but that was about it. You couldn't take the chance of putting in orange trees or walnuts or raising a crop. That would be very dangerous for you because if it dried up and there wasn't any water, your crop would die because they wouldn't let any water. They needed every drop they had.
Okay, so you actually had to get your water from the Metropolitan Water Company.
They seemed to control a lot of the water in the area, and even the underground water. You had to. There were areas if you pumped water, basically there was a meter on it. I don't know, or you could only pump so much, and
Interesting.
you had to pay the water rights to somebody. And I understood, and this is a little off the subject, but I understood there were only five water masters in the whole valley, but that I can't. But they own the water rights, and it was very difficult to get them, and you were lucky if you had them.
So tell us about the bridges.
The bridges. We had several bridges. We had a bridge here at Orange Avenue.
Okay, and
Went
Orange
over-
and Merced.
Yeah, Orange and Merced. It had a stop sign at the bottom.
Okay.
And the policeman hit up here on Orange.
Okay.
And most people came over. Our family did, and of course you could see both ways. But the danger part was on the Orange there was a wash
Yeah.
and
It did, huh?
ditch. Yeah, you went down in the wash and you came up, and you didn't Model A or something or Model T. You had to get a running start because if you didn't make it to the top, you had to back up and try again, and you couldn't all go to the top.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, it was quite a little. You sit there or you stand, and you'd go like you could downhill, and you'd get up on the other side. Now Sunset had a bridge, and they took it. The county decided to build a new bridge, and when they were taking it down, the wash caught fire because it had a lot of bamboo in it, and the bridge burned up. So
Interesting.
for many years, we just had a dip there, and then as you follow, and Orange Avenue, California had a ditch that you went down, and then you went up to Azusa, and they had a bridge, and I imagine Citrus did too.
Well, the one on Azusa and Cortez Avenue, that bridge collapsed. I remember that bridge collapsed when I was a kid.
That's what you were saying.
Yeah. It had collapsed, and then they redid it, and then now it's they built the over the wash there, so it's pretty stable now.
But those when the one on California was interesting. On Thursday, if you went down the wash, you go down California and go down, but you wouldn't go back up. You would head west. They would bring out the boxers from the Olympic boxing in Los Angeles, and they would load your truck with sand to build their muscles. And there was always, we had a Model A, 1929 Roadster Model A truck. Wouldn't you love to have it today?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it was a jewel. And my brother and I used to drive it down there and fill it up with sand. And you couldn't believe how that thing could hardly make it out of there. It was just grunt and groan. And we'd bring it and we'd fill in little areas where there were mud puddles during the rain or, and we'd fill in all our roads in our orchards and things. That was a lot of fun. You know what? We take our dogs with us. And we couldn't get on the road, so we knew the farmers, and we'd kind of drive down their road and wind around. Then we did cross a main road sometimes and get there and then go down California. And there was always 5 or 6, I guess, professional boxers, and that's what they were doing. They'd fill your trucks on Thursday most of the day with sand. And that was about the only place. If you went farther down towards Sunset, you'd get into loose sand and you could get stuck.
Okay.
So that was kind of an area we all got our sand out of.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was rural.
Yes.
Yeah, there wasn't anything.
Yes.
I tell people we drove there, but we didn't go on the roads. We went on the side roads. There just wasn't anybody.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to believe today, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So well, I hope that answers all your questions. If you'd like to ask us a question or have us do some research on something, would you please let us know? And with that, I'd like to say thank you very much and have a nice day.